Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, we will be integrating our to-do frontend to the backend. So let's jump right into it. So before we start integrating, there is one small button that we need to add to our UI in to-do. So we'll start the server first, npm start, and let the development server start. And meanwhile, we'll change it to to-do as we are working on to-do. Save it and open up the to-do page. So now we want a button here which will say update. So that update button will update any changes made to the list, to-do list. For adding the to-do, we'll simply add it like this and click the add button. This add button will in turn call the backend. So this is one backend call, and the other backend call will be when we click on that update button. So that update button will update the state of this whole list from in our backend. So we won't be doing it for single click. Like say if we click on this, it won't call the API because that will be a very heavy task, calling that API again and again for each and every change. Similarly for cross, this cross will simply remove it from the actual list that we are maintaining, the state list. And once you click on update, the backend will be called and the actual list will be maintained, updated. So to do that, let's just create after the scroll bar. Let's just create a button, button, and name it as, I think, label is equals to, uh, we'll call it as update. Okay, it's not label, so we'll just put it here, remove it and save it. So we have our update button. Reload it. Yeah, so we have our update button. We'll put it inside a div to give a proper CSS to it. Save it, refresh it, and we have our button. So now what we need to do is we need to give it some CSS. So we'll say class name is equals to what name we have given, to do body update. We'll keep this as the name and we'll open up our, where is that CSS? Yeah, app.css. Add it here. All we would like to do is to give it some margin. Margin top will be say 10 pixels and margin bottom will be 10 pixels. Let's save it and see. Margin top, margin bottom. Margin top isn't that much, so move it to 20. Yep, that looks good. And let's move it to 20. This looks good as well. So this completes our update button. So now all we need to do is we need to have a state that will hold all our to-dos initially. And as soon as we update any to-do, click on cross or click on checkbox, it will update the state variable rather than updating in the backend. And as soon as you click on update, the saved data or the saved state will be updated in our backend. So let's see how to do that. There is another thing that we need to do in our backend. That is, you can see we have a checkbox here. So we didn't actually, the type of our return, the to-do type is of array of strings, so that only to-dos will be stored. But we need to maintain the state of the checkbox also, whether it is checked or not, whether it is done or not. So to do that, we need to change the to-do type. That's it, nothing else. So we can add a new type saying to-do types dot ts, and all we need to do is copy this interface and paste it here, change it to to-do name and to-do status. This will be to-do. This will be of to-do type. We can save it, and here all we need to do is change it to array of to-do type. Yep. And we need to make sure it is .ts here. So let's see how it works out. And for finding the to-do, update one, correct. Find to-do by user ID. Okay, so this is just returning the to-do. So correct, it will work as we want. So now what we will do is, firstly, on this click of add, this click on add button, it should call the API, which is basically this function insert to do by username, to insert the data into our backend or the database. As soon as we type something and click on add, it should call that API. So let's do that. So where exactly this is inside our add to do model. So if you just want to see what happens on the button click, we can inspect, remove whatever is there in console and click on add. So you can see add button is printed out. So we need to change this and say first we will get whatever we have written. So we'll say let to do is equal to document dot get element by ID, and our ID will be text field to do dot value. We won't be doing onChange method in this case because it'll be very tedious to do that, as it's just one single function or one single text box. So it's better to do this way. Now we'll get the value. We got the value, and the first thing that we need to do is check if to do dot length is greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, what we will do is we'll create to do details, which is equal to nothing but to do name, which is the to do that we have got, and its initial status to do status will be false. One more thing that we need to take care of is the types. I think, yep, it is string and this is Boolean. Correct. I forgot about it. Sorry. So the status type will be Boolean. So now here we have set it as false. But as you can see here in our backend, it is an array of to do. We can't send just one single to do. We need to send it as an array. How do we do that? So there will be a state variable to manage our to-dos. So as soon as we log in, the to-do array will be initialized. So that will happen in a to-do component. We'll create a new state saying user to-dos, and it will be an empty array initially. So the same array will be passed down to user to-dos equal to this dot state dot user to-dos. Save it, and here we can get that user to do by props dot user to dos. Yep, user to dos dot, what we need to do is we need to push the newly created data into this. So that will be to do details, and this should be a variable let. Now it's work perfect. So let's just console log our props dot user trues. Let's just save it and add, click on this and just write some gibberish and click on add. You can see we have an array, and the first thing has to do name and to do status. Perfect. All we need to do is call the fetch API. So we'll just copy paste that code. Let's just remove this console log also. We don't need any console log as this is working. Get this, remove this console log. The API is to do's and insert. Correct. Post content type application.json and the data will be props.user to-dos. That will be the body. Now let's console.log the result. I hope you know what we will be expecting. So that is the issue. Async, you should remember we should always put async before the function if you are using await. Now, coming to the error, you know there will be an error here. It won't pass. The fetch won't pass because you can see we have a 401. Why we are getting this? As you can see in our to-do routes in our to-do controller, you can see here we need an auth token in our header. In our body. We need to send an auth token which we will be using to validate the user. As you remember, we need this because that is why we are using jot. This is the main reason. So if you land to this page somehow and you try to add the to-do, you won't be able to because you don't have a jot. You need a valid jot. That we will be seeing how to do that. Now this add is working. Our API is being called. So the next thing is to update on this button click or on this click. So how do we do that? So the first thing is that rather than showing this, what we will be showing now is in this div, this will be our checkbox, but what will this be? So what we need to do is, first thing that we need to do is, we need to show this only if this dot state dot user to do's dot length is greater than 0. Only then should any of this be shown. Let's copy this whole part and remove it. And if this happens, then what we want is this dot, okay, sorry, not be a question mark because this is an if condition. This dot state dot map, sorry, state dot user to do's dot map for each to do that we get in this map. What we want is to return this, which will be inside this div. So it will be here. This div will come after the icon button and uh, okay, I think this is expected. Yep, there's an extra one, is it? Okay, let's just see what is happening. So on change is fine. This is the div. This is for return. This is for map. And this is for, okay, there needs to be one more. That is null. Else we won't show anything. And let's close it and save it. Let's format it. Prettier. Yeah, now you can understand properly. So what we are doing is if its length is greater than 0, then for each to do, we are returning this. So let's just change it. Checked state will be equal to to dot to do status. Stay stay to do status. Correct. Now, okay, this is fine. To do status. Here it will be to do name. To do name. Oh, sorry. To do dot to do name. And here on click function we'll be doing first we need to check whether it's working or not. Let's just save it and there is nothing here. Correct. That is what we want. But the thing to remember here is as soon as this add is clicked, we should see something here. Even though it's not inserting, let's just show you how to do that so that you'll know how to actually do all these things. So how do we do that is we will create a new, we need to set this here. So on this update, the state of that variable should be updated. So you can see here, this is the handle add to do model, which we will be passing. Now, currently I've written it here, but this will be going in a to do model. Actually, it will come here so that it will be able to manipulate this user to do state here rather than in this function. So to do that, all we need to say here is props dot update to do, and okay, not update, we'll have an add to do. Okay, we'll just have an update to do, we'll just have a single function, and we'll send the to do details. I think it should be add. Let's just keep it add right now. We'll see it later on, and we'll get the user to do's correct. Let's just save it here, but the add to do is not there. Correct. We need to create an add to do here. Add to do is equal to, we'll get the to do details equal to this. Now let's just create that bind function fast. This dot add to do is equal to this dot add to do dot bind this. Perfect. Now as soon as you click on this, what will happen is it will set this dot, it will first create an array. So it will first create, or yeah, let's just create an empty array where, or let temp user to do equal to this, and then temp user to do's dot push to do details, and this dot set state, and we'll set our user to do's to temp user to do. So now why we are doing this is because we can't directly update the state in an array. We need to update the whole array. So that is why we are doing this. So rather than doing this, we'll set it to this dot state dot user to do's, because we want to save the retain the user to do's and then push a new to do to that. So let's save it and hopefully it should work. Click on this, add, and props dot add. Okay, yeah, we haven't passed it in our props. Sorry for that. Now we need to pass it here. Add to do is equal to this dot add to do. Let's save it. Hopefully it works this time. Something, and let's see. Yep, it works. It is working perfectly. So as you click, it will come true. Perfect. It's working. This is what we wanted. Now, right now we can't go ahead because we don't have jot. So actual DB updation is not happening. So that we will be seeing in the next lecture because it will be too much to cover in one lecture. Let's just quickly finish the update button also, and remaining uh, cross and our check buttons. So as soon as the check button is uh, clicked, what we need to do is we need to update the state of our update the status. So we'll say to do. This is in to do's, correct? Yeah. So what we will do is we'll get the key also, key comma to do. So the key is nothing but a key value pair. So as soon as the check happens, we'll just quickly console log it and see what we are getting in our key. Add it. Okay, let's open the console log first. Open inspect console, add, remove this, add some to do. Okay, correct, that is fine. Okay, did not insert, but as soon as we click this, okay, so that is the issue. It should be to do first and then the key. Yeah, I remembered. That is how it is supposed to be. Now it should work. Remove this, add. Yep, this is working. And as soon as we click yes, we get the index of the array. So this is to get the index so that we can update the particular index. So once again, all we need to do is to create this temporary array. And where did it go? Yep, console log. Rather than doing this, create an empty. Just copy that whole array of to-dos. Now temp user to-dos of key should be dot. It was to do status equals to. It should be the opposite of what it was. So to do dot to do status and a not of it. The last thing is to this dot set state temp user to do's. Sorry, not temp, rather user to do's, and it will be equal to temp user to do's. Let's save it and let's just, yeah, we'll see that. I'll just console dot log user to do's, not user to do's, this dot state dot user to do's. Let's save it. Hopefully it works. Add some to do, close it. Yeah, we need to fix that also. Soon as this is clicked, let's see the updated state. So you can see it is true. That means it's working perfectly. Now, as soon as we click on this remove to do, we need to remove it. So for that, we need to do a similar thing. Let's just copy this whole part, remove. Let's just see if it works. Yeah, remove to do is console logging. Paste it here. We don't actually need this event also right now. Now, on click, what should happen is it should get removed. So now to remove, how do we remove? We'll see. So we have an option saying splice, I guess. Yep, splice. So splice, and we want to splice the key that we have got and the start number to delete count. You can see we have our delete count. So the delete count will be 1. And again, we'll do this and then console log it. Let's see, hopefully it should work. Add, clear this out, remove this, check is working, good enough, and removing it, it's good. It's working perfectly as intended. So that is how we have added and removed. Now, a very important thing is that as soon as we do this, it does not call the backend. You should remember that it does not call the backend because it will be too much of a task to do for each and every check and each and every remove. Rather, we provide an update button which will update it. I know that's not how it happens in conventional, but it'll be too much to show you all that because it's just a basic concept to put a fetch API for each and every one of those calls. So in this button, update button, we'll say click, on click is equal to, and that on click function will be written here. So this is the reason we need, I think, two functions is state to do is equal to, we are getting all for this, all we need to do is need to call the fetch API, We don't have to add anything or remove anything because the states have already been updated directly by the cross and the checkbox. So all we need to do is call the update or the insert API as it is. So all we can do is just copy this and paste it here. Now what we want is insert, and we want to insert this dot state dot user to do's. Now let's just console log. If everything goes well, it'll show 401. Now update to do. Again, await is there, so it should be async. Should remember these things, but somehow they slip my mind. So this dot update to do. One more thing that we need to do is create a bind function, paste it here, update to do, update to do. Let's just save it, add some to do, add it, and there we go. It gets added, update its state, and click on update, and we see it returns 401. Perfectly, it's working. So one more thing that we need to take care of is we need to close this as soon as we call this on click. So as soon as this finishes, we need to close it. So how do we do that? All we need to do is say this function needs to be called props.handle add to do model. Click. Let's just save it. Why did it expected an argument? Okay, sorry. Yep. Add something and it should work. Yep, that is how it should be. Now it has added, it's closed. So I guess it's been too long. So I'll cut short for this part. In the next video, we will be seeing how to implement jot and authorization. That is going to be an interesting video, and I think it will be more appropriate as to how production applications work. So please stay tuned, and if you like my content, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.